This is Jimmy, aka MrBeast. He is one of the, if not the most successful YouTubers ever existed. According to Google, he makes anywhere between $600 to $700 million a year. He generates that amount through YouTube channels, brand deals, and business ventures, and he seemingly does everything except one thing. He doesn't sell courses. And are you a truly successful YouTuber if you don't sell courses? Sorry, Jimmy, I don't make the rules. But there is where I come in. For any content creator, big or small, there are 7 steps you can use to generate free money regardless of how many followers you have. And I know this because as a marketing genius behind some of your favorite content creators, I work with people who had only 1,000 followers and I help them generate over 6 figures a year. I also work with somebody who had only 5,000 followers and we did a launch for them that generated $48,000. And yes, I work with somebody with 20 million followers and we help them make over $1 million in just 14 days. So let's take a look.
All right, so there are 7 steps to this free money that any content creator can access, and I'm going to show to you how you can do that using MrBeast as an example, as well what he need to do in order for him to go from basically 0 to hero using this framework. The first one is the idea. Now, the number one mistake that most content creators are making is that they create a product that they think the audience wants versus actually creating something that the audience wants. Now, it's okay to have somewhat of an idea whether or not the audience would want that, but it is not okay to come up with an idea, start creating it, and then putting it out there and then basically getting upset because nobody is buying. There is a reason why that happens. Let me explain what that is and show you how to avoid it. So let's take MrBeast for example. So obviously he's extremely popular, and in our case, right, he basically, if we were to look at a Google, very quick Google search will tell us that people want to know how to create videos like MrBeast for obvious reasons. His videos get viral, there is a specific story sort of baked in, there is an editing that is also taking into account the storytelling and that sort of stuff, right? So he's master at doing that. Not only that, he started with this, now obviously he has a team, but people do want to know how does MrBeast create his videos, and they want to learn. So knowing that YouTube is the how to basically type of audience, because people are Googling how do I X, how do I Y, there's a lot of content education, it makes sense to create a course. And so in MrBeast's case, if he were to create a course, the how to create videos like MrBeast would be $1 million or probably $1 billion idea. Now, if you are a smaller content creators, how do you actually figure out and find what your audience wants? That very, very simple. You basically look at the comments and DMs that people are asking you. Now, sometimes your engagement potentially lacking, but even when I had less than 1,000 subscribers on this channel, people were asking questions about, copywriting and whatnot. And so I was just creating videos based on that. I could also create a course if I wanted to, also based on that, because people were asking. Now, just having an idea is not enough. Before we start creating, there are 2 other things we can do, or rather should be doing, if we want to make sure that we are actually having a very successful launch. So let's take a look. So the second step is to actually validate the idea, or what I also call probe for demand, right? So you want to see if your audience actually wants that, right? Because having ideas is easy. It actually figuring out whether or not the audience wants it. So the easiest way to do that would be actually asking the audience. And how do you actually do that? Very, very simple. You could say something. In MrBeast's case, he would either ask the question right at the beginning of the YouTube, he would post to the communities, maybe even Instagram. To be fair, I don't actually know if he has Instagram, but let's pretend he does, right? So if that was him, here's what he'd say. If I were to show you step by step how to create viral videos like mine, would you want to see this? Very simple. It is not salesy whatsoever, but it does ask the audience whether they want it or not. You could poll them, you could just ask them to respond to you. I've done it multiple times on clients that had 1,000 followers and millions of followers. And if the product is something that is based on the idea that the audience wants it, usually there is some sort of demand. Now, once you have that demand, what do you actually do after? Well, that leads us to step number 3. So this is my favorite step, which is basically creating the hype. Now, I call this step is Hollywood hype, which basically means take a look at the Hollywood, take a look at the Netflix. What do they do when there is a new movie coming out? Let's say there is a new series of Love is Blind. What is happening out there, right? What do you see on social medias? There are pictures, there are quizzes, like a bunch of other things that is happening, right? Back in the days when Hollywood was more of a thing and Netflix wasn't, what would happen is the actors would go out there and they would do, and I think they still do that, right? But they would do different types of interviews and they would post on the YouTube and people would be watching it. And so what was happening is that Hollywood and Netflix, they are creating this hype. So people actually start talking about it, they start thinking about it, and that basically creates almost like an artificial demand, right? And that's what we want to do, of course. Now, the question is, how do you do it? So let me show you. Basically, it's very simple. You drop the teasers, you maybe mention something in your stories, you potentially even talk about it in your videos, right? Little snippets here and there that sound exciting and intriguing. This is what you want to do. Now, another thing that we can actually steal from Hollywood and Netflix is to start creating hype as soon as possible. Back in the days, I remember the Hollywood would start doing the interviews and send the actors like 6 or 7 months before the actual premiere, right? Now, obviously, we wouldn't have like time to do that, but start maybe a few weeks in advance before you actually decide when you're going to be doing a launch. Now, step number 4 is going to be quite surprising for a lot of people, but I will explain why we do that. So right about now, most people would be actually starting to create a course, but I highly recommend and do is sell first and then create later. Now, we want to pre-sell so that we can get some validation and cash forward so that you can do either of the two things. You can do whatever the heck you want to do with money, but a lot of the times you could use that money to actually create a really, really, really good course. And we're going to talk about how to do that in the next step. But having the validation, right, from people who said, hey, I would love that thing, and actually them having and giving you the money, that will help you to feel more motivated and seeing that, yes, I can do that. This is something that people want. And so it will allow you to then potentially maybe use a better software. Maybe you can hire somebody to help you create a course, right? Something that people actually would want to buy. Now, there are 2 ways you can go about creating, or rather pre-selling. So let me show you both of them. So the first one is you can actually do some sort of a early bird, right? So you could say, hey, I am opening early bird access for this course. There are only 100 spots or maybe 10 spots available. And this will be the people who will get the chance to test the course the second when I launch it instead of waiting 2 or 4 or 5 months or whatever, right? In this case, if that was MrBeast, what would happen is he would absolutely sell out in those 100 spots, right? He would generate cash and then he would basically release the course in like 2 months or 2 weeks, right? And then the people who purchase early, they would get instant access. But then the people who will have to wait, his audience when he actually does release later. But that creates also a bit of a scarcity and hype, which is great. Now, another way you could do is you can actually sell or pre-sell the idea of you create as you go. And we're going to talk about how to do that in the next step. But what you can do here is frame this sell as, hey, I am looking for 5 to 10 people to actually help me create this course. So you will be the person who will be, basically I'll be getting your feedback and you will participate in the course creation. And this course will help thousands and thousands of people. Now, there will be people who would want to be a part of something greater. So that's how you can pre-sell it. And then you deliver as you go, which brings me to the step number 5, which is creation of the course itself. Okay, so let's talk about the courses. Now, you can see bazillion of YouTube videos on how to create courses, and those are great, and they are okay, and they basically lead to creating an okay type of courses. Now, a great course will be something that will lead the customer to a little transformation and a really positive feedback. So let me explain what I mean. So for example, let's say you're helping somebody to go from 0 to first 1,000 Instagram followers, right? What they want really is either the feeling like, hey, this is working, I can actually do it, or potentially go from 0 to the first 10 followers, or maybe from having 200 views to their first 1,000 views, right? Those are not big metrics by all means, right? But they allow the person on the receiving end do something, give it a try, and see the results. And that creates a massive positive feedback, which then sort of hooks them psychologically to continue going with the course. And or even if they didn't go with the course, it actually allows them to then potentially realize, hey, I might need more help, which is basically working one-on-one, right? And we'll talk about why that makes sense in the next step. But first, let's talk about what actually makes a great course great, aside from that feedback. So when it comes to creating a course, and if you guys want me to create a video actually walking you through step by step on how to do that, let me know in the comment below. In general, a course have to solve a bigger problem, but every module would basically create or solve a one specific micro problem, or the way that I like to say is it actually answers the question that the audience has. So let me show you on MrBeast case how it would look like. Okay, so we got MrBeast, right? And so he's creating a course on how to create videos just like MrBeast style, right? So the first question that the audience has is basically how do you even come up with the viral ideas? And that would be the module number 2. Now, the second question that the audience has, well, I don't have a huge team. As a matter of fact, I'm a solo content creator. How can I create this style of videos by myself? And that would be module number 2, because really, I mean, MrBeast used to be in a place where he was creating videos by himself, right? He also probably has a lot of insight on how to create those. But anyways, the next question would be most likely about the camera gear, right? Do I need to spend a lot of money? What type of gear do I need? You know, which camera and all that sort of stuff. So that could be module number 3. Module number 4 would be, okay, I do have the knowledge about creating viral ideas, but how do I actually write this script? How do I keep the audience watching? All of these questions could be answered in the module number 4. And module number 5 is the editing for retention. Obviously, MrBeast is known for this specific style of editing, and this is something that he could put in module number 5 as well. We have created the course, we even sold it to the people. The next step is what I call baking a cake. And let me explain what I mean, right? So usually what happens is content creators decide to create a product. It could be a course, it could be a book, and they just stop there. They just put that course out there. But really smart content creators, the ones that make millions of dollars with a teeny tiny audience, they know a secret. And that secret is actually layering up the product. So let me show you what it means. So here we would use what is called a layering pricing model. So there could be a sort of lower ticket course or product at between $97 to $297. Mid ticket would be $997 to maybe $2,000, and then a higher ticket membership. So each product that you use should have a reason to exist outside of making money. And that reason 99% of the time should be identify where to move the customer on the customer journey, right? So for example, lower ticket course, the idea would be to ascend the client after to mid-ticket and or higher ticket, right? Mid-ticket, you know, group coaching or whatever would be the idea is to move them up higher onto the higher mentorship program. So in MrBeast's case, that would look like would create a program, a course that would actually get people into one-on-one mentorship with him. So here's what usually happens, right? Sometimes people go through the course and they're like, okay, I can see this is working, you know, I had the feedback, whatnot, but I feel like I need more personalized help. So let me see if maybe MrBeast can work with me one-on-one. And guess what? He does. And that's how you move people into the higher ticket program. Now, it is so much easier to then upsell people onto the higher ticket program if and when they go through any of the lower ticket prices, right? Because they've seen how it works, you help them to create some problems, but those sort of solutions created other problems, and this is what your one-on-one mentorship program is solving. Now, last but not least, step number 7, which is basically putting everything on autopilot. So let me show you how you can do that. So you would take this course, or MrBeast would take this course, and he would turn it into a what we call evergreen funnel, where he would just put it out there maybe every other month, maybe every quarter, right? And he would basically do those mini launches. Now, from his standpoint, because he already done all of the work, idea, the demand, the hype, all he would need to do is basically sell. And when he does sell again and again, all he would need to do is potentially optimize and improve the course, and or adding more and more testimonials, right? Which obviously we want, of course. Now, from there, where do you even sell it? Well, in MrBeast's case, what would he need to do is actually start an email list. Now, I don't know if he has one or not. I would hope he does. That being said, he would probably nurture leads through the email funnel. He could also mention on YouTube that he has his course live again, and you have only 48 hours. You've seen, if you follow Yes Theory, for example, they do those product launches, right? In the video, they will either create a video that is like, you only have 48 hours, right? Or they will post on the social media, whatever. So similar thing here. Another thing that MrBeast could do, and this would apply to you if you do have millions and millions of followers and thousands of people going through your program, is that you could set a sort of referral / affiliate system, but for your students / customers, right? You could basically offer your clients, your students, either 50% off or like 50% of whatever they're making, right? And so that would be so much easier because you don't really have to spend money or really any time to acquire the customer. Your customers will do that for you as well. So the question now is, that is MrBeast, and obviously he's going to make a lot of money because he's got a lot of followers, millions and millions and millions. Is that even possible to do that for a small content creator? And the answer is absolutely bloody yes. This is exactly what I've done with dozens and dozens of content creators who range from 1,000 followers, that would be myself, and I work with people who had 20 millions of followers, and it works across the border. All you have to do is just go through the steps and you should be good to go. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch the next video up there or up there, not really sure, and I will see you in the next video.